you a story about 3 men. Each one of those men had lost someone, and losing that someone had made them feel like they'd lost everything.
At least on this earth, we all will lose the ones we love. That is part of life.
Why me? Why did I have to be the one? Why couldn't she just have lived?
You don't want to know these things. As you say, they don't concern your country. When you go back, you'll only remember the beauty you see here, and nothing else will really be important.
Hector.
Let me tell you what happened next.
Hello?
Contact right! Get away from me now! This is my decision! My time to go!
To the past lives, of course you speak of reincarnation.
Well, there you go then. Live fast, die young.
I don't think anyone ever gets over losing someone. I wish I could stay here forever, but real life beckons, I suppose.
What you need to understand about life is that life is not a puzzle to be solved. It's a mystery to be lived. What you've got to decide is, do you want to live it?
Some of you know me already. Those of you who don't, are in for a great big fucking surprise. Those of you who do can expect an infinitely more horrible time than they care to remember. Any man here steps out of line and I will kill him stone dead. It will not worry me in the slightest. There are no Queen's regulations here. And when I say jump, you ask how high. I'll make myself clear.
What's going on? I normally do one of these after open bar, unless I've been ill, which I have quite a lot over January. But it's February now, so, and I was here last week and I'm back again. Unfortunately, somebody has scheduled a stream right opposite this one, where there's a considerable crossover with our fan base. There's not really anything I can do about that. But I appreciate the people that are here. We have Wormy Spoons in the chat. We have Aaron Charman. We have Miss Martin Muses. The man with the favourite handle on all of YouTube, Snorter Poopers. Gotta love that name. So Late Night with Lancey, we kind of talk about anything really. And I'm going to talk about some of the things that have been in the news this week. And some trailers and a couple of other things. If you are a YouTuber and you're watching, I don't care if you've got 5 subscribers, give me a shout. You can get on, and I'll bring you on. I have still got a bit of a dry cough, unfortunately, so I am still a little bit under the weather. Well, I'm not. I don't feel ill, but I'm just. I just have this lingering cough on my chest. It's a fucking pain in the arse. But there's not much I can do about that. So, anyway, how's everyone doing? Had a pretty good weekend. Which I thought was I don't know. I thought was the beginning of some shall we say, significant changes, and maybe I was wrong about that. Anyway, let us have a look at what news has been going on. And also, I'm going to mention a couple of things I've been watching, which I might bring up on the Nielsen ratings on Tuesday. One of those things, the lovely Sherry. Hello, how are you? I've not seen you on the channel before. Adrian, if you want to come on, mate, let me know. I'll send you the link. Sherry, how you doing? Are you a fellow YouTuber? If you are, Late Night with Lancey is open to other YouTubers. You're welcome to come on. You don't need to be on camera because I won't be. So, one thing I just started watching. Prison Cell 211 or 211. This has probably got the most violent prison outbreak scene I've ever seen on television ever. You get some sense of it in this trailer. Let me put that back for a second. And I mean, I'll tell you what, the people, I'll show you, no problem. You're welcome. I know it's not for everyone, so no problem. But thank you very much for tuning in and giving me your time. I really appreciate it. Good to see you, Procto. Procto, let me know if you want to come on, mate. You've been on before. Yeah, so this, if you like, I really like foreign dramas. There's a lot of really good foreign content out there, and the Europeans say the same about American shows. There's a lot of good American shows, foreign shows out there. We say the same about them. There's a lot of good mainland Europe television drama being made. I always like watching it with the original language and subtitles. I don't like watching it if it's dubbed. But nowadays with Netflix, you've got every option at your disposal. So, hey, Mr. Spoons. So, Procto and Adrian, I'm going to drop the StreamYard link in the chat, and then I'll delete it in a couple of seconds. There you go. So, yeah, this show is worth your time. I think I've seen about, I've seen the first 4 episodes, or I'm on episode 4, saw 3, and I think I'm about halfway through episode 4. I'm not sure how many episodes there are in total, but it's based on a book, I think, of the same name. And it's basically about set in a very kind of rundown, overcrowded South American prison. And I've been in a third world prison. One of the most unpleasant experiences of my life. Utterly, utterly terrifying experience. And I would not recommend it. And in the case of this particular place, there are so many prisons, it's so overcrowded that I was scammed, Michael. That's why. While I was on holiday. And it was so overcrowded that people were tying themselves to the bars, standing up. No, I don't. I've never taken any illegal substances in a foreign country ever, nor do I intend to participate in that. You've also got to remember I'm in my 50s, you know. So there was the cell I was in was probably about 8 by 6 feet, maybe not even as big as that. And there were 7 of us in it at one point. I'm not going to get into more details, Michael. That's all we need to say, but it was fucking awful. Third world. So this is set in a place like that, and with even worse conditions. And it's very, very interesting. So there's a lawyer that goes in there to discuss a case with a client. And while the lawyer is visiting, there's a riot in the prison. And the lawyer is forced to disguise himself as another prisoner in order to survive. And he has to carry out illegal acts during that time in order to survive. It's a really good concept. So I imagine the book is pretty strong. Anyway, this is on Netflix. I've got 11 people watching now, by the way. That's really kind. Very much appreciate you being here. So, Proctor, I literally just put the link in the chat, man. I put it in the chat. And I deleted it. Oh, you missed it. Okay. Here you go. I'll whack that on. So, 1 second. Adrian, I sent you the link on Facebook, but I also put the link in the chat for both you guys. You could have got it if you'd been a bit more eagle-eyed. Yeah, so anyway, this is the trailer. I won't put the sound on because this is the lawyer guy. What's particularly authentic about this show is I sent it to you on Facebook, mate. Are the extras that they use in riot scenes in it I've ever seen. But one of the things I was saying is if you look at the extras who they got to play the prisoners, these guys, man, they could not have got a more scary looking bunch. I mean, it's more so than any American show I've seen set in a prison.
Yeah, a lot of places you wouldn't go to, like the extent of the actual body modifications going on there.
Yeah. This guy's got actual horns coming out his head. I don't think they're makeup either. I think they're real.
No, that's actually a halfway popular thing in the body modification community or whatever.
So they clearly went to sort of whatever fetish clubs or places of even
tattoo conventions. You'll find plenty of people with those.
Yeah, that'd be another good place to get these kinds of extras. Jacob, let me know if you want to come on, man. I'll send you the link. It'd be great to have you on. But this is one of these things I whacked it on. I had trouble sleeping last night.
Okay.
And I whacked it on to sort of, because if I watch anything with subtitles, I soon doze off because, you got to focus on the subtitles, So that tires your eyes out, especially if you wear glasses like me. So pretty soon I thought I'd be nodding off, but I was so engrossed. I was 3 episodes in before I got tired, and I think I was on episode 4 by the time I sort of was getting droopy. So I turned it off. I think I'm about halfway through episode 4. But this show, it's literally just dropped. It's good. It's really good.
It certainly looks good. Everything about it is just so immersive. There's no detail of those trailers that made me think that this was a stage or that made me think it was a show.
And I mean, I think also one of the things about the show is that it's not got I mean, yeah, you know, okay, the guy's trapped in the prison, which is the main premise. He's got a pregnant wife outside. That's a little bit cliched, but
a bit. But you know.
the other tropes in the story, there's one guy who was supposed to be being smuggled out during the riot. That's part of the reason that the riot was staged, but he doesn't get smuggled out. He gets taken by another gang who know that he's important, but they're not quite sure why. And you don't know either. So there's kind of plots within plots going on, and it's not stuff I've seen in a prison drama before. Hey, Rachel, let me know if you'd like to come on. You can plug your artistry. Yeah, so it's good. I'll recommend it. I don't know how many episodes there are in total, but it's yeah, I really like it. So I'm going to talk about it on the Nielsen ratings on Tuesday, but I thought I'd, because I might be touching on some, dare I say, slightly political topics tonight. I thought I'd start with something that's not so, you know.
I got you.
Yeah. Let me. So I'm just sending the link to a couple of people. We have Mr. Sherlock with us from Down Under. How's it going?
Good, mate. How are you?
I'm all right. Now my accent's going to go all Australian via Bangladesh. But
yeah, no worries, mate. Only nicking.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure having you on. With you're on with the proctologist.
The proctologist. No shit. No shit. Sherlock is here.
Proctosaurus.
One way or another, we're going to get to the bottom of this.
That's
no arsing around.
That's a good log line for a poster. Oh, see what I did there?
I saw you did there.
Yeah, it's all going arse about face.
We're getting the poop today.
Damn, man, this is a real bum.
This guy's the shit, I tell you.
Going too far, boys.
So, why is Gino DeCampo streaming? Who is that?
For fun? I don't
know. I've no idea.
Is anyone streaming? I don't.
No, sorry, not streaming. Trending. Sorry, trending. Why is Gino DeCampo trending? Who is Gino DeCampo?
I have no idea who that is.
Some sort of Italian chef or something?
That sounds like it, doesn't it?
The new Gordon Ramsay or something?
Italian / Latino.
Gino's air fryer cookbook. I think he's a chef.
Oh, I thought Ocampo was more sort of more of a Spanish type of a name. Or is that Italian?
Says Italian here. You're right though. That name could be Spanish, couldn't it?
It might be. I'm
not particularly au fait on Spanish and Italian surnames, but there you go. Trending on Twitter.
That's an
Gino's air fryer cookbook. And they're doing a theatre show in London. Yes, I too could go to that show at the Drury Lane for probably a tasty £75 a ticket. I think not. Yeah, apparently.
They could buy 10 copies of our books for those sort of dollars and pounds, I should say, and yeah.
Well, for whatever reason, he is trending for some reason. I don't know. I'm not until today. I was not familiar with this man.
Murder suicide?
No, he's still alive.
What gets you into the headlines?
Allegedly.
That's
maybe he got cancelled because of something from his past. 15 years ago, he tweeted a joke or something. You know.
Now, were either of you guys watching Critical Drinkers Open Bar tonight?
I was listening to it, yeah, while I was working.
Right, so I caught like part of I was moderating it. Well, it starts before you get up, typically, Adrian. But I was moderating it, and he talked about something towards the end that someone commented on that had kicked off online, where somebody had jumped in to defend about something and got their boyfriend involved, who was a big actor, Was it Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah, it was Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively.
Blake Lively, right? Run that all by me again, because I kind of only caught half of it, and I wasn't really sure what they were talking about.
Yeah, I kind of stopped paying attention around then because the drama just doesn't really get my attention. But apparently, somebody said something on some set that she was working on, and she brought in Ryan Reynolds to defend her on it, and it just blowing up everywhere. I don't know.
Okay, so
I'll see if I can find some details on you real quick.
Yeah. And apparently Taylor Swift is involved somehow, from what I can see on Google. So just basically everyone's getting involved. Blake Lively sued for defamation by Crisis PR firm. That's one day ago.
Do you guys think that this sort of do you guys think this sort of easy access to the entire world that the internet's given us has sort of become a minefield for anyone who's a celebrity to sort of destroy their own reputation and career like in about 5 minutes?
Well, I think that's quite handy in some cases.
Well, it's a very useful tool, but like anybody can look up anything about you at any time. So yeah.
Okay, so
you can sort of make a dick of yourself in a way that you couldn't sort of 20 years ago if you're famous.
Than you couldn't before. Yeah, you had to really you had to hire a PR firm to make dicks of you in the past.
Yeah,
this is it.
Like
here,
in the 1960s, back in the 1960s, Sean Connery could give an interview to Playboy magazine and he could say some quite, outrageously, I suppose, what we
because 10 no's means yes.
Misogynistic sort of masculine sort of stuff. And most people never heard about it for 40 years, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like it wasn't until YouTube popped up that we really got to appreciate that interview where he said he doesn't hit women with a closed fist. An open hand is fine.
Right, just slaps them. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's,
as a last resort.
Connery could be grumpy on a set. I can tell you that. I've had that. I've heard that firsthand.
I believe it.
Well, okay, so they're both filing lawsuits against each other. That's very Hollywood, of course. Mm-hmm. Justin Baldoni is another actor? I think I've seen him.
Apparently we're both in It Ends With Us.
Okay. Crisis communication specialist Jed Wallace. Bet that's a well-paid job.
For sure.
You can just tell from the title, Crisis Communication Specialist.
Yeah. Like, can we all take a moment to appreciate the irony that two people that starred in It Ends With Us, a movie about domestic abuse, is suing each other?
Right. Maybe it's all a publicity stunt to get us to watch the film.
Potentially. Genius.
Could happen.
Following very immersive complaint from Lively after the pair worked together, the dispute has been going on since last December. It's pretty complicated. Film's release overshadowed by speculation. So I haven't seen the film, just for transparency.
Yeah.
It's adaptation of Colleen Hoover's best-selling 2016 novel that I also haven't read. Navigates an abusive relationship with Baldoni's character. Okay. Baldoni took a back seat in promoting the film, even though he also directed and produced the project. So it's his project then, if he directed, produced it, and starred in it. It's really his baby. Wow. Baldoni did not pose for photos. So clearly they had some sort of spat on set. Lively appeared to take the brunt of the negative media attention around the time the film was released, with some also criticising her for promoting her own businesses. Beverage company Betty Buzz and hair care brand at the same time. Okay, well, actors promote their own shit. I mean, I can't hold that against her, really. That's their job, isn't it? If they can make stuff on the side, what's the legal complaint then? Sexual harassment.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you're a frustrated, film director or writer or something, and you've had a dream your entire life of making a movie for the last 30 years or something, and you finally get the chance, I mean, do you say, wow, at last I can make a movie? I know. Let's make a movie about domestic violence. I mean,
I don't know.
It is a pretty important subject.
I mean, you know what
No,
I mean?
it is. I mean, it might be that it's the film he's always wanted to make. So, I mean, she's going out with Ryan Reynolds.
Why didn't he become a
this is post Me Too. This is post Me Too.
Situations, you know?
But this is. Let's put this in perspective. This is post Me Too. You're on a A-list set because you've got A-list stars. I mean, I assume Blake Lively's A-list. I don't really know. Because I'm out of touch. I'm out of touch with all that.
Wouldn't be too far off.
You're producing, you're directing, so you know it's your set. Yeah, they're married. Yeah, I'm aware. Partner, whatever. So you'd have to be pretty stupid to come onto your co-star. So then, I mean, I assume that they have to have physical contact in scenes. They probably got scenes set prior to the relationship going wrong, so they're probably going to have to kiss and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, it's a tricky one, isn't it? So it said somewhere, I read somewhere, a new code of conduct was established on the set, and they carried on filming. And I don't know, you know.
Yeah, so we'd have to get some details on that, because normally, at least nowadays, there should be like an intimacy coordinator and all that to make sure that everything's above board, everybody's comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, no personal boundaries are crossed in any way, shape, or form.
When I went to drama school in the 1980s, they told us quite early on, you know, part of being an actor is letting go of the sort of social hang-ups that people have and the sort of limitations and boundaries, because you might be doing scenes which are quite, you know, intimate, or at least you're in close quarters with people, and you know you have to sort of, you know, that's your choice as an actor. That's what you're becoming. You're becoming. You're choosing to become someone who, when they're acting, is voluntarily saying that's you virtually consent when you sign a contract. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be in these scenes. I'm going to bring this script to life. You know.
Well, you would think
and all the rest of that. You don't want to get killed. You know, you have a stunt double. You know,
actor Paul Smith and
you know,
regular collaborator with David Lynch says Blake Lively seems like a cow, according to a lot of the film press. Not the real Paul Smith; he's dead, of course. And we also have Jacob Ironside here.
How's it going, man?
Hey, good evening, gentlemen.
Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. How are you?
Yeah, doing pretty good. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Oh, that's better. Your volumes are better now. No problem. You're always welcome.
Better. Okay, good.
On here, I caught this. People talking about this Blake Lively spat on. I caught it when I was moderating on Open Bar. I heard a bit about it, but I didn't really understand what it was about, so I thought we'd dig in. And it's interesting that it's a sexual harassment complaint that's occurred on a set between two people playing characters in a relationship. I think this stuff is becoming a bit muddy now, because who was it whose career nearly got cancelled? And he wrote a really quite steadfast blog about it. He went public to defend himself. The actor who played Skeletor in the canon Masters of the Universe movie. Great actor.
In Australia as well, to a guy called Craig McLachlan, who was playing Dr. Frankenfurter in a stage production of Rocky Horror Picture Show. One of his female co-stars sued him, saying that, you know, his acting performance on stage was, you know, like he was, you know, sexually assaulting her or something. And he said, you know, we're on the stage giving a performance, and it's the Rocky Horror Picture Show, for Christ's sake. You know, I'm playing Dr. Frankenfurter. And it went to court, and it got Me Too. His career got destroyed. He had a TV series that got axed. I mean, the guy nearly committed suicide. He got so depressed and anxious.
What was the outcome of the court case?
In the end, he was completely exonerated, and they said that, you know, it was complete BS to think that a guy would be, you know, he was sexually assaulting someone while giving in front of an entire audience while he's giving an acting performance where he's literally playing, you know, in a sort of a sexy, flirty scene because he's playing Dr. Frankenfurter. It was he was just following the script, you know, basically.
So the person that this also happened to was Frank Langella, and if you read his account of it, which is online, his account, because remember this was in the movie that he was shooting with Ridley Scott, All the Money in the World, and his part was completely cut out, and his scenes were reshot, and Christopher Plummer was.
See, I hate the way they do that. I hate the way they pander to everybody. You know, when someone
they were doing a bedroom scene, and as part of that, he and I'm recollecting from his account here, so do check it yourself for accuracy. He touched the woman's leg impulsively. Because that particular action hadn't been agreed by the intimacy coordinator, this woman, who, by the way, is not new to the business, she kicked off about it, left the set. He just thought it was part of an organic thing in the scene. He apologized. Now, I mean, even if, that wasn't agreed by the intimacy coordinator or whatever, but he apologized, surely you just have a conversation about it. You'd be adults and you just move on.
Right?
Yeah, that's the thing that's gone wrong in the world at the moment, is that sorry isn't good enough anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm thinking about this.
Any mention of an actor, you know, whether it be on a film or in his personal life, and they're gone. They're gone from the show. They're killed off or
recast. I hate that gutless attitude of.
Well, his career was nearly destroyed by this. I mean, thank God he's near the end of it. But he brought out a biography. I think it came out just before that. And having read his account, I decided to buy the biography to support him. And it's a brilliant biography. It's kind of written in the style very similar to the style my last book, 101 films. His is like his biography is like 101 stories of famous people I've worked with, and most of the stories are about people he's worked with who are now deceased. There's an amazing story about when he was flown out to Martha's vineyard. And he ended up playing piano for the Kennedys, Jacqueline and John F.
Wow.
In the lounge kind of thing. So stories like that, I mean, it's really really incredible. But he was quite a young and upcoming star in the sort of golden eras of 60s and 70s. So he was mixing with all the kind of Hollywood royalty of those eras, and being invited as the young guest to their parties and to their dinners. So his biography is a lot of stories from that kind of era. Really, really powerful stuff. Just very interesting.
I wouldn't want to do acting anymore because of these people who accuse people of everything and anything over, some minor thing on the set. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to say the least.
It puts you off wanting to have anything to do with the acting business,
So they're suing and they're counter-suing each other. Yeah. Seems to be the order of the day. I think he's right to counter-sue, because if he doesn't, his career will be destroyed. So he has to.
Absolutely. You've got to counter-sue. Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is this movie actually out? Has it been released?
I think it is, yeah.
I'm curious.
Is it incredibly ironic that like a message film is got this?
That's what I pointed out earlier, yeah. Oh wow, it only got like a 54%.
Not even a good message film then.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah, it was released like 4 months ago.
Okay. Baldoni's $250 million lawsuit is against the New York Times. Blimey.
Wow.
Suing them for libel. So that's
Which
bigger
she
than
probably had a stronger chance of winning.
Adrian. That's bigger than your lawsuit against Whoopee Comics back in the day. You were suing them for 37 pence for not delivering your comic on time.
Bastards.
Yeah. And it didn't have the free plastic spinner on the front. Because the paper boy had nicked it.
We're going for him.
Okay, so I'm.
Did you hear about Neil Gaiman as well? He's got the same sort of woes.
Yeah, but he's. I mean, I find him harder to defend. I will admit.
He's come out and virtually convicted himself though by saying things like, I do all these crazy things.
He's come out with some very stupid comments, and also he's been trailing. The rumor mill has been trailering him for a very long time now. I'm not for people getting convicted in the court of public opinion. Don't get me wrong, but because of what he came out and said, I find it hard to defend him because he sounds like an arsehole. I'll be honest.
Yeah, for sure.
And
a lot of those, successful artsy types, do become assholes in the end. But
thank God I'm not a successful artsy type. I'm so glad I'm definitively unsuccessful, certainly financially.
Whatever the result, I like you as you are.
Hey,
you're an absolute gem of a man. But yeah, the victim's account in the case of Neil Gaiman. Recently, I was in a stream where it got read out, and it was just bizarre. Like, I could not imagine that being the account of like a 45-year-old lesbian going through this and responding to this particular series of actions in this way. It just didn't make sense to me.
He comes across as someone who's trying so hard to be the noble, like extremely, I'm so ashamed of myself for being a man, kind of guy that he's virtually convicted himself of everything, I did these really bad things that I didn't realize were so bad. It's like, dude, if you had a lawyer, he'd be like beating you with a stick, telling you to shut up right now. What are you doing? Ooh,
some people.
Buy yourself a gag, mate. Before you end up in the clinic. Christ.
Oh, I'm sure he has several.
Because I mean, there's well, indeed. I'd hate to see his playroom. But I mean, DC Comics, the latest, and this is 5 hours ago. DC Comics pull Neil Gaiman title while Amazon Prime Time series will go ahead. So he's had a comic series pulled, but a TV show, which I imagine is probably the more lucrative.
This is the thing I don't understand. Why did they do this thing of, he's been accused of something, we're going to, I don't just mean him, I mean anybody who's a celebrity.
Yeah.
Why do they do, it's not as if it's a celebrity endorsement, he's a writer,
Yeah.
So, okay, so what? If I'm watching a show, I don't want you to pull the entire series off the TV, or if I'm reading a comic, I don't want the books burnt because the guy got in some personal trouble. Okay, he might end up in a fucking prison. They might put him under the prison for all I care. I just want to see the next episode of my damn show I'm watching, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
why do they not even have the guts to say, okay, the writer got into some personal trouble, it doesn't look good, but hey, we're making a show here. He's just the writer,
On that topic, there was the very famous thing where Noel Clarke had his BAFTA awarded to him, and then within 72 hours, a paper ran a big story about abuse claims. The award was taken away. Several projects were cancelled, etc. Okay, now,
again,
I'm not going to talk about whether Noel Clarke did or didn't do the things he was accused of. Okay, what I will say is this: there was a show that his company had produced, which was, I think it was a 4-part show, and it was on ITV. So that's the prime time channel in the UK. It's the main channel, called like Fox, if you like, equivalent.
That's right.
And it was about to drop the 4th episode that Sunday, and or the following Sunday after the BAFTAs. And what happened was they shunted. They didn't pull it completely. They took it off the main channel. They showed it once on the secondary channel, so they pulled it from its official scheduling, and then they took it off forever, including all the other content. Now, the thing that annoyed me about that was this.
It's like the Nazi book burnings, you know what I mean? It's crazy.
Well, a little bit, but let me explain further. Noel Clarke is okay. He was the producer. He was in it. Fair enough. It was his company, Unstoppable. One would think that might be an ironic title. And Jason Mazza was another person who owned that company, and he was also accused of things, okay? But that production hired about 200 people to work on it. You've got the DOP, you've got the director,
Exactly.
you've got the other actors, you've got all the technicians, the makeup artists, and so on. What about their performances? What about the people that were watching the show who'd already seen 3 episodes of it?
Yeah.
What about the careers of the other people? I have a real issue with them cancelling this guy and cancelling the work of other people as a result of cancelling this one guy. It's not the same as a book, because a book can be written by one person. You remove the book off the shelf, okay? I'm not saying
it's like saying we're going to take all the cars off the road that have got number plates that were made by guys in prison, because what if one of the guys in prison who made the number plate for your car was a bloody rapist or something, or a pedophile?
But everybody else's work on the car
drive a car ever again, it's stupid.
Everybody else's work on the car has also been tainted. I had a real issue with
Throw
that.
the baby out with the bathwater.
Maybe it's my Aussie upbringing in the 1970s in Australia, that I just seem to have a very down-to-earth attitude about all this stuff. And to me, it just seems insane to me what's going on in the world when I hear this stuff. It just seems so irrational.
It's not
just aware that you're all descended from prisoners anyway, as we know, convicts and so forth.
Well, my ancestors were.
And that's just a low blow.
But I get what you mean. Yes.
There's a bit of British sarcasm there for anybody not familiar with my tone of voice. So just having a look through this the latest.
Put you back in chains there, Lance, for misbehaving, having you flogged or something.
I'll be on a boat to Australia myself shortly. This story actually dropped today. This is Thursday, 6th of Feb, 6 o'clock. So,
oh
wow. This comic that was supposed to come out 2nd of September has been scrapped. They haven't confirmed why. Well, I mean, it's obvious, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Why? Sandman spin-off, apparently. 9 women have accused him of misconduct.
If one woman accuses you of misconduct and goes to a lawyer, the first thing the lawyer does is phone every other woman that has ever had anything to do with the guy and say, we're suing him for millions, right? He's rich.
Yeah.
And
why don't you jump on board?
Say something.
Yeah.
So,
this is it. It's the reason we have courts is for this. And I do think there should be laws about kind of cancelling people's businesses and contracts and so on until things have been proven in a court of law.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because it applies to everybody else in business and other things, So I don't know.
Because you got to think. To me, a lot of people wouldn't say the things they were saying if they took the time to think it all the way through. So if you say, okay, this guy's been accused of doing something wrong, hasn't been convicted in a court, he's just been accused, and it's not even a criminal case like in Neil Gaiman's thing. It's a civil case. They're just suing him for his money. It's a lawsuit. So you say, well, okay. So therefore, he shouldn't be allowed to be famous and in a TV show. He should act or write comics or whatever. Okay, should he be able to then go and get a normal job like at McDonald's? Oh, we don't want someone accused of that working at McDonald's. Okay, well then should he be able to get unemployment? Should the government say, fine, no, he should be a homeless person starving to death in the street with no welfare checks, because why should taxpayers' money keep alive a guy who's been accused of these heinous things? At what level do you say someone is a human being with basic human rights, no matter what they've been accused of? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm just gonna read this. I'm just going to read this out from Ron is right. I think he's Australian. That's racist. And everybody in Australia says it too. Not my great-grandparents. They weren't convicts. First fleeters are what they are, they're called. And they're the ruling class of Australia. Like me. Okay, thanks for that, Ron. I know that was directed at me.
Okay. What?
So yeah, so Adrian, are you descendant from first fleeters?
Absolutely not.
First
no,
fleets
sir.
to arrive. Are you more descendant?
No, apparently my ancestor was a sailor who visited
kayak.
Australia. Apparently my ancestor was a sailor who travelled the world and decided to settle in Australia sometime after the beginnings of the European settlement here.
So I mean, you should probably argue with the government of Australia that you should have your own independent race on Australia because you arrived differently on a different
that's
part
right.
of the coastline.
I mean, my wife, her ancestors came to Australia fleeing the Nazis. You know what I mean? They were literally fleeing from racist persecution from the Nazis.
Just in time to get bombed by the Japanese at Port Arthur.
And then so they were from like somewhere. They were like a people who were in Europe or somewhere being they probably would have ended up in a death camp if they hadn't come to Australia. So then her children go to school and get told, oh, you're all terrible for being a white person living here in Australia, And I thought, but hang on, we literally mum's parents literally fled the Nazis, and I'm in trouble for being a white guy. I mean, it seems.
Here's a couple of other interesting things in this article. So, Good Omens, which actually is a show that I do enjoy, will now end with a 90-minute episode instead of a full third season. So, Amazon did not confirm whether this decision was taken because of the allegations. I think we can answer that ourselves. But under that, more interestingly, a stage musical adaptation of Coraline, which was due to be performed at Leeds Playhouse, Royal Lyceum, Edinburgh, and Birmingham Rep. And so, in other words,
all those actors
has
are
been
now
cancelled.
being put out of work.
Yeah, so just listen to the reason. After careful consideration, we feel it would be impossible to continue in the context of the allegations.
The thing is, most people probably never heard of the allegations. This stuff gives it publicity.
Well, what they're basically saying is, I mean, think about this. If you're a theatre producer, don't forget there's not a lot of money to be made in theatre. I am a theatre producer, so I can say that first-hand knowledge. But if there is a story circulating, rightly or wrongly, about the author of your work, and these kinds of allegations always kind of stir up the crowd, it could obviously impact your ticket sales in a negative context. It could go the other way. It could blow your ticket sales up and you could be sold out. But it's more likely to impact them in a negative context. Do you plow ahead knowing that risk, or before you get into rehearsals?
I'd like to see someone plow ahead, but no one's got the guts to plow it. The only guy I've ever heard of in my life who's plowed ahead despite allegations is Donald Trump.
But what would you do if you were the producer in those shoes and it was your money at stake? What would you do?
Well, he's already spent all that money setting it up. He might go ahead.
Well, we don't know that, do we? We don't know how far in they are, but
that's true.
If you replace him, the guy that replaces him might do a better job. You might even
alternatively. Alternatively, you might do a worse job.
Don't say anything about Neil Gaiman. Just focus on it being a famous book, and focus on the cast. Focus on something else. That's what I mean. They give it legs by focusing on it so much. These people, the more they react to it, the more, and also by cancelling everything, they empower this whole thing. It actually they constantly pander to cancel culture. They pander to bullies and cowards all the time, and it's pathetic.
I suppose the important nuances or details would be like how famous somebody is versus like how aware everybody is of the issues, surrounding them. Like a good example that Ron brought up earlier in the chat was like Salvador Dali and Pablo Picasso. Now, everybody's heard of them, can probably think of a number of their works, but how many people know that both of them either didn't speak against or directly promoted Nazi Germany?
Yeah. Ron is right, who I hope is still in the chat, and I hope he wasn't offended by my terrible Australian accent. Do you know what Salvador Dali and Pablo Picasso did? I mean, should we burn all their paintings? Exactly. That's true. They were men of particular tastes.
I mean, we were supposed to have a society that was built around the belief that human beings are essentially flawed, and that to err is human and to forgive is divine, and that we're all born knowing nothing, and we go through this life as a journey, and maybe we get things right, and sometimes we get things wrong, and we learn from our mistakes, and we can grow as people, and we can change our opinion, and we try not to do harm, and some of us do dumb things. I mean, I look back in 40 years ago and think of what I was like when I was young, wanting to be an actor, and I think, Christ, I should never have been an actor back then. I had no people skills. I was a dickhead, But you learn as you go. You learn, and so I don't know how are we supposed to ever learn if we just have this attitude of someone did something, someone else didn't like it, so they make an accusation against them, and that's it.
100%.
The whole world comes down on them like a ton of bricks. I mean,
So in other news, Trump is suggesting that Gaza would be good for Stalingrad reenactment groups. Going to be shipping them over there to strut their stuff. More seriously, this is Gaza apparently is going to become the the jewel of the Middle East, the Riviera of the Middle East, I think was the words he used. I mean,
it could. I think he always says it could.
Well, I'm not going to suggest.
Look
for
at
1
that
minute
picture. Let's just go live there right now. It looks so.
It looks comfy.
Great. Yeah. It looks like a holiday resort to me. Yeah.
What would your panelists? What would your suggestions be going forward with this place? Tough ask, I know, but let's hear your proposals.
So it depends on what the landscape looks like on the other side of the camera.
Right.
I think
it probably looks the same going the other way. I'm going to suggest.
Well, do you know what it reminds me of, Lance? Is when I was a kid, if me and one of my siblings were fighting over a toy, my dad would come and take the toy and say, "There, I've got it now. Now neither of you can have it." Now
right.
Go and do something else.
Basic parenting.
That's what Trump's like. He's like someone's dad comes along and sees the Palestinians and Israelis fighting and says, "Fine, I'll take Gaza. Now neither of you have got it. Now shut up." Go argue with someone else or do something else.
I mean, if the Americans went in, let's just theorize from it. If the Americans went in and bulldozed it and started building hotels and resorts and whatever else, and turned it into this Riviera, even though I don't think it's actually, most of Gaza is not on the coast. Just to point it out, a little bit of it is, not much of it. I just, considering the history, I think we'll see a increase in world terrorist events, the like of which we've probably never seen.
No doubt.
It would just become a terrorist target.
Well, I mean, not just in Gaza, but I think events worldwide. Look at what happened after, 9/11 happened, so we invaded Afghanistan, Iraq, etc. All of that, and
it all came back on us, didn't it, in the West?
That all backfired. Al Qaeda was not that strong before, and that all came about as a result of our actions, and now. Yeah, I mean, it's, so I just think...
in the US,
what he's actually proposed is that he gets the other Arab nations there to be the ones who actually finance and rebuild it. Not actually, America would be like would have a controlling interest, but it wouldn't be Americans themselves doing it. It would be actual local countries. Because he said there's plenty of money in the region, and there's plenty of people in that region who want this war to end so they can have peace.
Right.
So I think he's looking at it in a much more nuanced way than the media is reporting it.
Yeah, I mean, if that could happen, that could be good.
It's a bit of a chess player, Trump, isn't he? He sort of seems to think quite a long way ahead, which I suppose, if you think about it, when in real estate, you set up a project to develop a hotel or a golf course or something, it's usually probably a two-year contract or something. So you probably do have to have all the risks lined up for the insurance companies, and all, what if it falls down, or what if a worker gets killed, or what if he gets sued, and so you would have to have a very long-term way of looking at things, I guess, in that industry that he's come from. So
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry. Procto, did you want to say something?
No, I was going to say, like, he's said a lot of just really flippant shit, just throwing it out there, like, without thinking at all. So it's difficult to really judge just from stuff you see while he's up on a panel. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, at least you guys. Compared to our Prime Minister, the one I can say about Trump is he is a man of action. That's I don't know what Keir Starmer's done since he's got into power in our country. I really couldn't tell you one thing he's achieved. But we touched on the subject of terrorism. I'm gonna segue that into a movie. I saw this movie today, September the 5th. So this is, for those people that haven't seen it or haven't heard about it, this is Black September, Munich 1972. There have been a number of films and documentaries about
Brewster,
the terrorism event of that Olympics, which is all that Olympics really is remembered for. But you wouldn't have thought there could be another movie made about that topic, showing a side of it that we haven't seen before. That's not true. So ABC was the only channel that broadcast, once they picked up the story, they broadcast that story and nothing else. They almost never cut back to the actual Olympics like the rest of the channels did. They broadcast the story from beginning to end. And it's the story of the characters, the sports team who were working at ABC in Germany, who first, the story fell into their laps. ABC News back in on the East Coast were trying to take the story off them, and they said, no, that's ridiculous, we're here, so we should control the story, and our anchor here should take it. So their sports anchor ended up reporting on the story. That's the same guy who you guys will remember in that very famous clip who goes, we've lost them all, they're all dead. This is a really, really good movie. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. I'm going to mention it on the Nielsen ratings on Tuesday, because it's all told, it feels like almost in real time. I mean, obviously it's told over like 48 hours, but it's got that kind of pace and energy that feels like it's set in real time. What's really great is the minutiae of the things that they had to do in order to broadcast the story, because you're talking about cameras that have reels of film in them. You're not talking about people that are going out with GoPros to film the terrorists and stuff. So at one point they had to get one of their black production team, an African-American black production team member, to disguise himself as an athlete with rolls of film strapped to his body, because the Olympic Village had been sealed off by the police with press trapped inside it, so that he could run back and forth to feed rolls of film to their cameraman who was inside the perimeter. Absolutely nuts.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, so there are things like that I didn't know about. They actually took one of the studio cameras out of the building and put it up on the lawn there, and were broadcasting directly from that with a big long cable when they were running the story. But it's a really, really good movie, and this is a subject that I'm quite passionate about. I've seen every film and every documentary on it. I know the story inside out, and I didn't think, there you go, that's the guy getting the rolls of film strapped in. I didn't think there would be another perspective on this to be told, but the story of the sports team, you know, showing this to the world. This was seen by 900 million people. This is the first terrorist event that was broadcast live to the world. That's what makes it so unique. God. And those are the police that were about to storm the building with like handguns and machine guns. They weren't special forces or anything. They had no idea what they were doing. And them moving into position was all broadcast live on TV with the terrorists watching it on their TV in their room. So they were like, oh, we can see all the guys moving into position. We better get ready to kill everybody then. So at that point, you know, that was called off. But yeah, it's great. I really highly recommend it to you. Has anybody else seen it?
Not yet, but it sounds amazing.
First time I've heard about
it. It is. It's a really good movie. Very, very fast paced. The cast has got a couple of my particular favorite actors in it. See, I absolutely love Peter Sarsgaard. This guy is one of my favorite character actors of all time. And you guys will have seen him in dozens and dozens of films because he's always playing, you know, the kind of the thinking man. He's always playing those kinds of characters. This is him in The Looming Tower, which is another very good series that's on Netflix. This is him in Dope Sick, which is on Disney. It's one of the best drama series I've ever seen. If you haven't seen it, about the opioid crisis, I've recommended it on my channel many times. He always does really good quality films or shows. If he's in something, you know the script at the very least is going to be good because he just doesn't do shit scripts. That's what I really noticed about him. He's very choosy about the stuff that he does, and he's always in really interesting things like Black Mass. That was another good film. So yeah, so anytime I see Peter Sarsgaard in a movie, I'm in, you know. As soon as I saw he was in this, I thought, right, well, I'm going to watch it then. Nice. Yeah, so pretty fab stuff. So that
any film that takes me back to the 20th century is always good.
Yeah, I mean the production design on it, in you know all the 70s clothes and everything, fantastic, and it's got that kind of color palette. And I was talking about this at the beginning. Cell 211. This has just dropped on Netflix, based on a book. I think it's a South American, Mexican production. So it's set in a Mexican prison. A lawyer goes in to see his client. A riot breaks out, and the lawyer gets trapped in the prison, and he has to pretend.
It's just lingering, is it?
Yeah, just sticking around, and doing its best to be really annoying. It's particularly annoying when I'm streaming, but you know, it's not going to stop me from streaming. So there. No, I went out on Saturday and I was dancing. And when I was getting up and dancing, the cough was gone. It just wasn't there. So I've got this fantastic picture that someone took of me dancing. There's one of them is my avatar right now. This is another one where you can clearly see that I am in fact Jesus in this picture. I'm actually for those people watching, I'm not really claiming to be Jesus, but I'm dancing on stage with a light whip in that photo, so that's what all the Marvel special effects electricity is coming from my hands.
You're a wizard.
Yeah, I know. It almost looks like I'm a live role player doing a Dungeons and Dragons game, or in this one I actually look like I'm playing an electric guitar, which is quite entertaining. There you go. But it is actually the light whip, just dancing with it, twirling it around between my hands and whatnot. So fun times. Yeah, so when I came back from that, I wasn't like coughing any more or less. And while
the exercise might have warmed you up or something.
I think the exercise really helped because I hadn't had any exercise for ages. So getting my lungs working, I don't think was a bad thing.
When I was in hospital, the nurses used to tell me I had to go for a walk or I would get a chest infection that would settle in, you know.
Right.
So the activity is probably good for you, yeah.
Whilst before I forget, whilst everybody is still here, I'll also mention I've got industry interview 99. So that's one away from 100 for those people who like to count.
Not 1999.
It's on Monday. It would have been great if it was a guest from Space 1999. Not like there's a huge choice of people left.
Yeah.
I've got writer Karen Essex coming on, and Karen writes a lot of historical fiction, which is up a lot of people's street. I know.
Yeah,
she's done 2 very critically acclaimed books about Cleopatra, and a sequel to those called Pharaoh, and they've done very, very well. But she's also written screenplays, and one of the screenplays that she wrote, she was commissioned to write by James Cameron. So she's going to be telling the story about all of that. Oh, look, there you go. Rachel Percy-Art, I think, has read her stuff. So, yeah. So she got recommended to me by another writer friend of mine and said you should get her on. She's going to be an excellent guest. I had a chat with her, and after 5 minutes, I was convinced. So, yeah, and she's got good 6 or 7 books out on Amazon. They've got incredibly good reviews. So,
well, that middle one definitely has my attention.
Yeah, and Adrian's just dropped a Thunderbirds book on Amazon, I believe.
Yes. Yes, the Thunderbirds guide is out. It's got 1 rating so far, 5 stars. So I was very grateful to that. The guy was, his username was Thunder Fan, so I assume he likes the show.
Let me have a quick look, see if we can find it. The Complete Book of Thunderbirds by Chris Bentley. I'm assuming that's not you.
No. I do have a brother named Chris, interestingly enough.
How dare he write a rival book to your own?
That's okay. It's I think there's room for everybody, you know.
I do find it's funny that you get these technical manuals, and I swear that the people that buy these in some way are thinking at the back of their mind, when I own my Thunderbird 2, this technical manual is going to be very useful.
Tracy Island.
Yeah, it's going to be very useful for fixing those bits that get stuck on the vehicle.
Yeah.
Yep. At some point, there's going to be a plot twist in my life, and this knowledge will save me.
Yeah.
I'll be on an island somewhere, and I'll need to know this.
That's kind of where I was. That's kind of where I was going with that.
Yeah,
we still haven't had a good.
Thunderbird 2 is real, and now I've got the blueprint. I know how it actually works. So that's why those wings were that shape. You know.
Here it is.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, I got that.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. What's going on? Oh, there we go.
Do you know what I did in January, Lance? I actually I revisited any book that had like a
Team
bad
America.
review. Any book that had a bad review or a low rating, I revisited it, and I did a sort of a 2025 special edition. So I spent most of January just expanding and rewriting any book that had a bad review to try and turn it around. You know what I mean? Try and get
sure.
Because they still sell, but you know, if someone's unhappy with one of my books, I always try and improve on it. You know.
Funnily enough, the book that I'm actually reading now is right here. I Don't Take Requests by DJ Fat Tony. That's the book I'm reading at the moment. I'm writing a book about the London rave scene right now. So in preparation for that, I thought I would read several books written by people who lived through it.
Well, this one's exceptionally good, I should say, because it's got an introduction by Lance Nielsen from the
that famous YouTube channel. That famous playwright and YouTuber's done the intro. That should be on the front cover. You should have like a star sticker thing. It says forward by award-winning playwright and Thunderbirds enthusiast Lance Nielsen. I do. I think if I had to name a favorite TV show of all time, it probably would be Thunderbirds.
It's pretty hard to top, isn't it? It's you know.
All right, look, it's actually there.
It's one of those shows where I think if you could show it to almost anybody and they're going to have fun with it, you know.
Yeah. Although kids of today will be like, "What are those puppets doing in it?" Do you know when I first started watching it, I thought the puppets were real people. I just thought they looked funny. Yeah, well, I was very young. I was only about 3 or something like that. Honestly, it was like one of the very first programs I actually was allowed to watch.
Well,
like
my
3
little
or
boy
4 years of age.
Thunderbirds, and my little boy, when he's 19 now, but when he was a little boy, he fell in love with Thunderbirds when I showed it to him. And one day he was standing in front of the TV, really close to the screen, and he suddenly said to me, "Have those people got strings on them?" And I said, "Yes." And he's like, "I don't believe it." You know, like it sort of burned into my brain how he reacted.
Did you watch Thunderbirds when you were a wee whippersnapper?
No, I didn't. No, I haven't.
Have you watched it
I've
since?
seen bits and pieces of those shows, but
you've seen bits and pieces, but you've like never watched the show sort of concertedly, sort of sat down and binged the whole thing or anything?
no, I haven't. No,
I
I always got into watching stuff about the ships and stuff they built.
Okay, so more like the making of and
You should probably watch an episode called Sun Probe, and if you can make it to the end of Sun Probe with your sanity intact, you might become a hooked enough to want to keep watching, because I think to me that's one of the most compelling episodes with great rockets and things in it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Alternatively, if you do lose your mind, you might enjoy it even more.
Well, there is that. I mean, my favorite, because I was going to ask
Day of Disaster.
I was going to ask Jacob, what's your favorite episode of Thunderbirds, which I now realise is a redundant question, as he's only seen bits. But my favorite episode is Day of Disaster, which has also got a rocket ship in it, but it falls in the river.
It's great. It's got that incredible moment. I think it must be one of the best moments ever written for suspense writing. You know, you're in a rocket, the bloody bridge. It's being transported to the launch site. The bridge gives way. It falls into the river. Then it sinks to the bottom, and it hits the bottom. And the moment it hits, the bloody countdown clock starts. It's like, this just happened, and now it's like, holy shit! Now the countdown started. We're going to get blown to smithereens. It's like, hang on, you just got over the shock of plunging off a bridge into the water and hitting the bottom, and now we're trapped on the bottom of the river. And then suddenly, shit, the clock started ticking. That's gone into
that always
mode.
had
We're blown up as well.
That always had one of my favorite miniatures sequences of all time. Now I've made that as a statement. I feel we should have a quick look at it at risk of getting copyright flagged. But this is that sequence. So Jacob, I don't know if you've seen this sequence before.
The tension here is incredible. How
The bridge was constructed 42 years ago as a link in the mighty North-South Superhighway. The transporting of the Martian probe rocket has caused a temporary diversion.
One by one, the steel
Traffic
cables
today
start
being
to
directed
go.
over the Hollis Bridge.
Yeah, let me skip it out when it falls off the bridge and goes into the water. And then one of the things about like filming miniatures, it's no good just making a really good miniature. And by the way, that miniature is massive. That would be about the whole vehicle would be about 3 feet, something like that.
Really? Damn.
Yeah, it's a huge vehicle, because they reused the bottom half of that vehicle in some other episodes. You've got to know how to light them. Lighting miniatures is an art form unto itself.
For sure.
But also just the explosions and the way they made the cables snap and everything in that sequence is really, really clever. This is all built in a massive water tank. There's a famous picture of the effects technicians in these kind of big fishermen's waders wandering into this tank to
happens, you then get the long wait for the rescue.
Yeah.
But in this case, the disaster happens, and the moment it hits the ground, the countdown clock starts, and it's just the danger's gone from we're trapped on the bottom of the river to
we're trapped. We're going to blow up soon.
The bloody countdown started. Now we're going to blow to smithereens as well. It's holy crap, you know.
Right, Jacob.
Jacob,
what was your favourite show growing up? I'm putting you on the spot. I know.
I actually watched older stuff that my parents grew up with.
Okay, well you can pick one of those. That would be fine. What would be your favourite show while you were growing up that your parents let you watch that they probably shouldn't have? Rephrasing the question.
Gunsmoke, Wagon Train.
Well, did you watch
Western kind of guy?
Yeah, no, listen, dude. You're talking to Mr. Western here. Did you used to watch High Chaparral?
I watched a little bit of that.
That was a little bit later, right? Because it was in color.
It was like late 60s.
Yeah, Wagon Train and Gunsmoke were kind of, they were like, were they sort of like mid 60s? Is that right? Early 60s.
Gunsmoke actually went up into the 70s, so that one played for a while. But yeah, that one started like in the 60s sometime.
Because it's like in I don't know if you saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but it's like that sort of that Jake Cahill show that Leonardo DiCaprio's in. I forget the name of it in the movie now. Bounty Law. Isn't that kind of partly based on shows like Gunsmoke?
I don't know. Might have been.
That's
yeah, I like that. I like that movie. I thought that was actually Tarantino's best movie in years.
I agree. I mean, people either, that film is like Marmite. People either love or hate that movie.
It didn't have a lot of plot, but it didn't matter. It was
I thought the plot was fine.
Just the situation. Oh yeah, I'm not saying it was bad. I just mean it took the time to just immerse in that world of filmmaking in the 60s, you know.
That's
early 70s sort of thing, without worrying too much about plot, you know. It worried more. It was more interested, I think, in just a look at what went on at that time. It was quite interesting. Yeah, it was an interesting film. It was enjoyable.
You know what, Adrian? There you go. 1955 was the first Gunsmoke episode. Wow. So 1955 to 1975, 20 years it ran for. Adrian, I reckon if you did a book, I might even consider doing this. It was a guidebook to the American television Western series. That would be a book that people would buy. I mean, you definitely sell one to Jacob at least. So this is the opening credits to Gunsmoke. That's got to be California where they do this one.
Starring James Arness as Matt.
I met his brother, Peter Graves.
Isn't it funny that his character's called Matt Dillon, who's now, of course, a famous actor, James Arnett as Matt Dillon.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be funny if one day Matt Dillon played James Arnett? Now isn't that the Warner Brothers or Paramount Western backlot?
He played The Thing. The original movie, black and white movie of The Thing from Another World. The Thing was
he was the monster.
Yeah, and his brother's Peter Graves from Mission Impossible, who I met when he came to Australia to do a revival of Mission Impossible at the end of the 80s. I was in a couple of episodes, and I met Peter Graves. He was a nice guy. Big, tall man.
I heard nice things about Peter Graves. So Jacob, do you happen to know if that's the main? That's that same kind of Western backlot that appeared in all these things at that time. I think it was, isn't it, on the Warner Brothers set? Yeah,
because there's parts of it that look like stuff from what is the High
I saw
Noon.
Bonanza all the time in Australia.
Old
Loads of reruns of Bonanza.
Another great show from back in the day.
Yeah.
God.
yeah.
Recently looked into it, discovered they had 14 seasons of that show.
Of Bonanza?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, as a kid, I never really appreciated Westerns. But Westerns are actually a genre I've actually come to appreciate as I've gotten older.
These titles are like, it's like the Western Dallas, you know? Like the Dallas, a bit like the Dallas titles. See, the reason I always remember... Sorry, go on, Jacob.
Intro. The older ones was like he's having a gunfight with a bad guy at the first of it in the middle of the street.
Would that be like the 1955?
Yeah, that would be the ones in the 50s.
This is High Chaparral. I'm going to get all kinds of copyright flags.
I remember all these shows, yeah. I remember all these shows from when I was a kid.
The reason I remember this show is because it's got an absolutely cracking theme tune that when you've heard it, it just stays in your head. And if this was on in my house and my parents played, I must have watched dozens of episodes of this, but there's not one episode of it that particularly sticks in my head, I guess, because I was probably so young when I saw it. And a lot of the Western stuff kind of blends together, you know, Indians chasing after wagons and things.
That's probably why I didn't get into it much as a kid. Yeah, I found it did seem very samey as a genre, but as an older man now, I appreciate westerns. Yeah,
you're allowed to as an older man. I think it's your prerogative that you have to appreciate westerns as an older man. You don't have a choice. Jacob, do you have a favorite western movie? You got a favorite?
I have two.
Go for it.
The Searchers with John Wayne, and The Big Country with Gregory Peck.
I watched
two of my favorites.
I watched The Searchers recently, but The Big Country, do you know what? I don't think I've seen that since I was a kid. Let me have a quick look. I know you've got to go. That's why we're tapping your brain.
I watched Breaking Bad because they said that The Searchers was an influence on Breaking Bad. In fact, the ending of Breaking Bad was influenced by Searchers, so that's why I watched it.
This is The Big Country. This doesn't look like it was shot on the Hollywood studio backlot. Director William Wyler. He did a few movies, didn't he? So we can't. You won't hear the sound. I'm showing this on the wrong doodah. But this is. I do love these big shots. It's one of the things I like about the old westerns is you get those big vistas, the big panoramic shots, and a lot of these films.
You wouldn't see a lot of this in England, I'm assuming.
No, and these are all shot in either 70mm or 35mm. And you'd get those, you know. Oh, there's the classic that's young Gene Simmons, isn't it? Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch this. Gonna have to watch this again. Yeah, got his shirt open, of course. I think that was in his contract. Had to have his shirt open at least twice in a movie. After Spartacus, you know, everyone wanted to see his chest all the time.
Of course.
So, yeah, I definitely saw this as a kid because bits of it are coming back to me, but I have not watched it in a long time. So I'm going to do that actually. Is this one available on any of the major streaming channels?
Paws off me, you damn dirty egos. I'll get my chest out.
Does anyone know if this is available on any of the Amazons or anywhere? Sometimes I can look it up.
It'll be there somewhere.
Yeah, I need to check that out for sure.
Free on Tubi, I think.
Tubi.
Of course, 2001: A Space Odyssey was made as part of a sort of a thing which was going on at the time of doing these Cinerama films, on a gigantic curved screen. And the other big one that was made around the same time in Cinerama was How the West Was Won.
Yeah, I just watched How the West Was Won literally a week ago, and parts of it were amazing, and parts of it were like, oh my god, you could not show this now. But the
only because all of the miserable people who have narrow minds.
There's bits where like a woman suddenly walks into a camp and says, "Don't worry, everyone, let's have a hoedown," and starts singing. I mean, that doesn't really fly with the kind of current gritty tone that you expect to see. It just
now she would come in and beat up all the men. Yes,
that's right. Yeah.
She's angry, and quite rightly, because she's a woman, and women have a right to be really angry in movies now. Yes.
The Big Valley, another one. So before Jacob goes, because I know he's got to go in a sec, I came across this photo today, which I thought
put the link
particularly
to the Big Country on Tubi. In private chat, I put the link to the Big Country on.
Oh, it's on Tubi. Thank you very much. Oh yeah.
All those shows were on TV when I was a kid. I remember. Yeah, I remember the Big Country. I'd get up and Big Valley. I would get up in the morning, and that'd be on before Thunderbirds. I'd be waiting for Big Valley to end so I could watch Thunderbirds. I was such a space age kid at that time. Westerns were too old fashioned for me. I wanted rockets.
So this is a picture from the set of Aliens, and it's actually it's Apone's birthday. So that is actually Apone cutting that cake, and it's a rare picture of him without his helmet on. It's amazing how much younger he looks without the helmet on. Because in almost
he's either got a hat
most
or a helmet on.
Most of the time you see him, he's either got the green military cap on or he's got the helmet on. So I thought this was a really fun on-set photo. I found this. I sent this to Gail Ann Hurd. I love the way as well part of the set is like there's a door open on part of whatever this backdrop of a set is. You can see this very rustic non-science fiction staircase, probably going up to personnel offices in Pinewood or something. But yeah, that's quite a sweet.
Cake with one hand and a cigarette in the other hand.
Yeah. Should have got Hicks to come along.
What's his name there? A bit too young, I thought.
Well, both of them have gone now.
Man.
So only Rico Ross is the only person left alive in this picture, because I think the guy over the left shoulder, I think that's the stuntman who played one of the other Marines. He was not an actor; he was a stuntman, and he played one of the ones who gets blown up when the grenades explode. I think he plays Wes Baskey, and because it goes Wes Baskey and Crow are down. And he was killed doing a high fall or something like that. Yeah, so he died. He died in something like 89 or 91, somewhere around there. So he was actually the first cast member of Aliens to die. Was the stuntman that played?
Yeah, like some of the shit that those stunt guys had to go through to get some of those shots was not OSHA approved at the very least.
No,
like it was nuts. Like I think in one of Drinker's videos, he showed somebody from one of the Mad Max movies who's just tumbling head over heels through the air, and that was just a mistake that happened, and it looked amazing, so they kept it in.
Broke his lower leg and ankle.
Yeah,
doing that.
That's how Aussies made movies in those days.
Go big or go home.
Mad Max 1 was filmed just up the road from where I live, where I grew up. In fact,
was that stunt? Was that on Mad Max 2?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I think I know the stunt.
One that is crazy to me, that in Mad Max 2 is when the tanker goes over, the stunt driver couldn't eat anything 24 hours before the stunt in case they had to rush him into emergency surgery.
Wow.
I planned ahead. So.
Yeah, I say, like, imagine. Yeah,
In
a whole
Australia,
day
people did that sort of
at that
stuff
point.
for fun, though. Even if there was no camera and no movie, you know, they would do crazy stuff with vehicles. My next door neighbor, right? He was we literally as a kid, I went to see my next door neighbor, who was a motorcycle racer. You know what I mean? And he'd go in these motorcycle races out in the sticks, and we'd stand in mud all day watching these motorcycles go round and round. And at the end of the day, he crashed and ended up in hospital. And you know, and we're at his house a few days later, and he's recovering. And you know, he says, "Yeah, I've decided to retire now." You know, and he had a whole cabinet full of all these trophies he'd won from all these motorcycle races he'd been in. For his, you know, he was just like, these guys were just professional, or not even professional, but just out and out daredevils. You know, they just did crazy stuff. And if they, they didn't retire until they were so badly injured that they nearly died, and they went, "Oh, okay, probably better pack it in now." You know.
Yeah. After a certain point, human body's pretty resilient in a lot of ways, but not when you're falling off a motorcycle.
Before I let Jacob depart our company, because I know you've got to get off, I'm going to wrap this up in a sec anyway. Jacob, did you have anything you wanted to plug at all, mate?
Yeah. A little bit from now, I'm going to be on Roman of the Empire show. Going to be talking the weird movie Life Force.
Oh God, yeah. Do you know? I had several friends who worked on that. I think I messaged him and told him this low budget British sci-fi that was partly funded by Canon, and they had to shut the production down 2/3 of the way into shooting, and they basically took everything that they had back to the edit suite and
made a movie out of the bits they had.
Yeah, the editor basically. So because if you notice, the ending happens very abruptly because they spent a lot of money on the special effects, and the special effects budget went over. The special effects unit was working the same time as the principal photography unit. So when the special effects budget went over, they basically had to shut down the main unit and say, "Well, that's it. We're out of money now. We can't do anything else."
Wow.
And the editor came back with a version that's pretty close to the film that you got, and said, "Can we make this work?" And I think they added a couple of extra bits in here and there, but they didn't have any money to do any more pickups or anything. So
yeah, I remember because that's what the producer of Blake 7 said. He said if we didn't get everything shot, we just made an episode out of the bits that we had.
Yeah,
that's how tight things were on the first season of Blake 7. They just made whatever they got in the can. They made that into an episode. You know.
So one of my friends was on it as I had one friend who worked on it in the special effects department. I had another friend who worked on it as an extra. And when we watched it on video, we were able to find him in no less than about 4 scenes. So, he's one of the bodies in this sequence here that are lying by the church. He's one of them. He's also in yeah, it's got a lot going for it. I think if they just had, a bit more money to film it, but overall, I think it's quite an original film. I think it was derided. Most of the critics just seemed to talk about the fact that Matilda May had her tits out. That seemed to be the thrust of the critics' narrative at the time.
Starburst magazine said it was like a Quatermass story.
Yeah, I think it had a lot going for it. I could do with rewatching it.
I think if those scenes weren't in the movie, it would have been forgotten.
Yeah,
I certainly hired the VHS as soon as it hit the shelves back in the 80s, and I watched it with bated breath. I was really up for it,
my mate who played one of the vampire zombie things, he's in this sequence. We looked at all the different sequences he was in, and yeah, he's in quite a lot. And so I'm kind of curious to see if there's a picture of him in any of these. But I liked all the sets that they did. I thought the stuff in space was pretty well shot.
They did a pretty good job on the space stuff. That was cool.
It was impressive at the time.
I think this is like one of the few films that she did. I don't think she did many other movies. Maybe she didn't have to. You know, Dan Candy loves Life Force. Oh, what's going on there?
Yeah.
Look to my left as I to the chat as I put that up. I should have studied the photo more carefully. Yeah, Aubrey Morris. Got to remember.
They did a great job on that prop.
Those bodies.
Yeah,
but that was a animatronic prop.
Really? That's right.
I mean, they did a good job on that.
It's quite effective. The sort of animatronic zombie thing. It's more like a drained body, isn't it? Really. And, Frank Finlay sporting the same haircut that he had for about 50 years.
So many great British actors there.
There are, there's a lot of
sort
of well-known actors from various kind of British TV shows in the thing. So anybody who wants a detailed breakdown of this, it's happening soon over on Roman's channel. So go and check it out.
Did it end up, because it was, you said they shut it down and I guess obviously not wanting to spend any more money, or they didn't have any more money. So did it end up being profitable at the cinema and all the rest of it on video?
I don't remember. I don't think it made money because it went way over budget. It went over budget by I think you can recount this story that I've told on the other stream, mate, tonight. But yeah, they only had about 70% of it completed. It was Golan and Globus, right? So this doesn't surprise me to hear this, because the budget on this film, right, apparently was 25 million. That's utter bollocks. So the budget for this film, I can tell you, was not 25 million. What happened was Golan and Globus would say the budget was 25 million. They probably kept about 10 of that, probably about 5 each, something like that. Literally would be that much. And then there would be 15 million for the film. And then when Tube Hooper gets to set on day one, I guarantee you Golan and Globus would turn around and say, "Oh, we've prepped everything's ready, but now your shooting budget that's been cut by 2 million. I know he turned up and he thought he was going to have, let's say 60 days to shoot. And he had something like 40 days to shoot. So imagine your shooting schedule. Yeah, here you go. It was scheduled to be 17 weeks. It went 5 weeks over. So it went 5 weeks over schedule, and they still didn't get everything. Now, Steve Railsback is quoted as saying that Cannon were great, right? Don't forget he's the leading man. So the leading man on Cannon films, or the leading actors, always got treated pretty well because they wanted him to come back and do more films. But I'm told that it got to the point where they just said, we haven't got any more money now. So if it went 5 weeks over, it went very over budget. But it 25 million of it was 25 million in 1985. That would be about 75 to 100 million today. So that's a massive budget. It was a huge budget.
Are you saying the producers kind of declared it as a film that lost money, but they walked away with a personal fee of about 5 million each in their pocket?
Well, the film earned 11 at the box office. Yeah, I mean, look, when Cannon raised money for films, They're the producers. You think they don't pay themselves? Of course they do. So there probably would have been about 15 million to shoot on that movie, and they probably did throw a bit more money on it when it went over. But don't believe everything that's on the Wikipedia page. I know for a fact that they were not able to shoot all the scenes. You can tell if you watch the movie, the ending is so abrupt. Like suddenly the energy beam happens and the ship fills up with people. Cut to credits. I
remember feeling that when I watched it back in the 80s. Yeah, it was a good film, but it didn't sort of go anywhere in the end. It felt like it got to a certain point, then just sort of stopped. Yeah, I remember.
Well, also there was a longer. Tube Hooper's original cut of it was way longer. His cut of it was 128 minutes. It was 12 minutes longer, and nearly all the scenes that were cut were scenes in outer space. All the stuff in outer space was great. So, and there was a couple of British actors that had their scenes almost completely cut from the film as well. So,
it should have been a big hit.
Yeah, I think it would be. Listen, it would be great if the full director's cut of that film could come out. I would love to see it. And the music for the film was pretty good. It was direct. I think the score was done by James Horner, did some of it, and then Henry Mancini came in and did the rest of it. Wow. Again, that should tell you something, that there were two big names doing the score. Probably because James Horner said, I need this, this, and this, and this, and this, and the Canon guys would have turned around and said, no, you can only have this. So, one of those dead bodies in that shot would be my mate. And again, that might even be him on the left here, funnily enough. But yeah, it's a fun film. It's a fun film. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. Right, on that note, and for anybody who's not sure what Jacob looks like, there he is.
What are you working on, Lance? Are you doing anything?
I'm working on my new book, which is it's similar to the Silver Screen Journeys one, except that it's kind of about the history of the rave scene in London, tempered with my journey back to it. So, oh my God, did you just say Romans had to cancel the show?
Yeah, something came up at the last minute.
Oh, we might as well carry on doing it here then. Oh, that's well, literally, has it just been cancelled just now? That's a shame.
Yeah.
Oh, what a shame.
I give Life Force a 4 out of 5. I thought it was a pretty good movie.
Yeah, I'd give it like I always rate my movies out of 10. I'd give it like an earnest 6.5. I think if we could see the extended cut, I think it would probably get a 7 if I could see the whole thing. But yeah, I've got 2 books coming out this year. My script for the making of The Magnificent Seven, which is a stage play, that script is going to drop on Amazon in probably a couple of weeks. I've got a screenplay in development with a British actor. We're quite hopeful that might go into production this year. And my rave book will be out before the end of the year. So 2 book projects minimum this year. I'm hoping I'm just about in the right frame of mind to do my 3rd Diamonds in the Sky book now. So I think Diamonds in the Sky will I'm hoping that will happen as well, but I'll see how I get on with everything else first. I don't like to work on too many projects at the same time. I used to do that when I was younger. I like to do one, finish that one, move on, finish the next one. So
yeah,
we'll see.
It'd be hard when you have all this temptation around you.
Yeah, it is a bit, but I've learned not to do that to my failure in my past. So Procto, do you want to plug anything before you wrap up?
Sure. If you like to do every now and then, me and a friend like to do like interviews with artists of all kinds. We've talked with most recently a digital art student, and spanned from that to some professional voice actresses, which was fantastic times. We stream live on Twitch, where you can.
You're doing the same as me with my interviews. How dare you copy me?
Indeed.
Terrible. Everybody's doing that now. It was me that first started doing that. That's right. You're allowed. You're allowed.
Well, thank you much. I do my best to.
If you've got a focus for artists, you should get she was in the chat earlier. You should get Rachel Percy on to talk about her artwork.
Done. I would love to talk with her.
Yeah, she's always popping up in chats for various streams, and I have plugged her artwork before. Here's her last comment. It's really too bad they didn't get to finish it because it's an interest. Well, I mean, technically they did finish. You've got to finish movie. I just don't think not all the scenes from the script were shot. It'd be very interesting to read the original script. I would love to get hold of it. But yes, sure. This is this one here. This is the view that I wish I had from my window. It's cool. Maybe without the storm. Wow. Yeah, I do like these though. This is another one. This is also called another view that Lance would like to have from his window. This is a very big house on a huge hill. It's got different views each way you look. You see, it's my dream.
I was gonna say, like, where in Valhalla is all of this occurring?
Yeah, Valhalla. And when you look out the back, it's Rainbow Unicorn Land out the back. You see, that's for the kids. That's the kids' play area. Yep. If I had any kids,
so that would for be the there. Kids that passed in the raids, they go to Little Valhalla.
Yeah, Rachel's here. I'm trying to force her out the shadows. Well, look, if you do an interview, don't forget you don't need to come on camera. You can just do it voice only.
Yeah. 100%. You can have just your PNG, just like I do, or we can accommodate however.
Yeah, look at this cute pooch.
Oh,
fantastic! I am a
bit
of a
dapper
dog.
Little man.
I'm a bit of a dog person, has to be said. So got everything on here. Good. Indians, we've got cats. It's everything. Everything's happening here. Look, we've got little hobbit houses. It's all happening. So yeah, check out Rachel Percy's art. I'm going to put that link actually in the chat for people. You can buy a print of one of these today. Valentine's Day is coming up. What a perfect gift for your partner. Whether they're a dog or cat person, Rachel's got everything for you here. So yes, you got a couple of other interviews. Done a couple of other interviews. Anything else?
Not at the moment. Sadly, we've been holed up. Ever since the beginning of December, end of November, I've been working no shit at least 13 hours a day, and it has been kicking my ass. But somehow we got out early today, and the stars aligned. So I was able to actually pop on today.
Oh well, fantastic! You're always welcome. We've already plugged Adrian's books, and so. And Jacob was about to be on a stream, but that stream's not happening now. But Jacob, you got any other streams coming up you're on?
Yeah, on my channel, I'm going to be going over the movie Rio Grande, old John Ford movie, one of the 3 cavalry movies.
So your channel has a bit of a western kind of thrust.
Not really. I go over
not really
all kinds of old stuff. So
hang on a minute, man. I just read. You know what? Because I just got it up on screen to give you a plug. We've been friends all this time. Look at this. I'm not subscribed.
Bastard.
Oh, no.
Dude, my apologies.
I have a YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, no one wants to subscribe to your YouTube
nowadays.
So here we go. Yeah, lots of interesting stuff on here. You got Paths of Glory, Hacksaw Ridge. No wonder I've been missing all this
Glory. Oh, yeah, great movie.
Yeah, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I believe that's a western. I've heard. So
yeah, great movie that one. Brilliant.
So check out Jacob's channel. Let's get him up to 500 subs. I really do need to put a PayPal link on my channel so people can just throw money at me. That'd be good.
Good nerd.
Okay, so Drew, yeah, we're talking about two different talking about two different movies, dude. But if you haven't seen Doberman, definitely check out Doberman. It's a great movie. All right, okay, guys, we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you for my impromptu guests, Jacob, Adrian, and the Proctor File.
And
coming
soon to my YouTube channel is a small retrospective on David Lynch's Dune, because you got me excited about that on the last time I was on.
Which version of it have you watched lately, Adrian?
Just the original, because I'm just talking about what actually happened. You know, why it didn't end up being, you know, the film that Lynch originally wanted to make.
It's such a shame that he.
It's about a 10-minute documentary. That
I think it's a real. I think one of the tragedies of his career, because clearly the material is out there, is that he went to his grave not reassembling that film in the way that he wanted. And I think if he'd gone and done a crowdfunding campaign to, hey, let's, you know, I want my version of Dune, I want, you know, and maybe shot some extra pickups. You could have done anything with AI these days. You know, you could even with the cast members that are dead, you could have easily shot stuff, revoiced stuff, whatever. But I mean, there's loads of scenes that weren't in it that do exist, and they exist in a decent enough format that they could have been re-edited. So, and plus we've all seen all the various different edits. So I think that was that was a shame that he didn't. I just don't think he ever really got over it. He never wanted to talk about it. He never liked to talk about it in interviews. Yeah. And it's a shame, because I think it's actually an okay movie. I like it, you know. So
I showed it to my son when I was preparing to do this little documentary after we talked last time, and my teenage son sort of said to me, he said, "Yeah, it doesn't really work." He said you know, he loved some of the visuals and he thought a lot of it was really good, but he thought that the thing where they had characters, all of these different characters, you were hearing what they were thinking, and they were sort of like,
there's way too much exposition. Yeah, they should have
really
just
felt
trusted.
It felt like the Mona Lisa with a mustache drawn on it, you know.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good analogy.
I hear you. Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, look, we're gonna wrap up. But thanks, guys, for coming on and keeping me company.
Of course.
Always a pleasure to have these types of characters on board. And just to remind people, if I'm ever doing a late night with Lancey stream and you see us on and you are a YouTuber, I don't care how many subscribers you have. You can have 5 or you can have 5 million. If you want to pop on and you want to talk, you want to come on for like a fireside chat, just drop us a message and we'll find a way to get you the link. We will be back on Sunday talking about The Shield, the next 2 episodes of the greatest cop show ever made. That's at 8 o'clock UK time, 3 p.m. East Coast.
Season 2, episodes 9 and 10.
Yeah, and then we've got I've got Industry Interview 99 on Monday and Industry Interview 100 on Wednesday with the Critical Drinker and Jason Flemyng, actor, back in the house. Yeah,
quite a massive reunion
of Industry Interview 1. It'll be a lot of fun. So we're going to be talking about our favourite films in 6 particular genre categories. So until then.